So if your chatbot's not responding in the way that you would like it to, this video is going to cover how to use prompting to solve that problem. Now, there's realistically two ways that you can fix this problem. If you've got weird responses, hallucinations, or it's not giving you the right answers, or it's, for example, it doesn't know the answer. If you've watched the first video, there's two videos which will explain how to improve this problem. The first one explains how to use the data feed, which is basically saying your chatbot hasn't got the information it needs, right? So you can check that using the source text here, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. If you want to know how to fix that, watch the previous video and it will be using this stuff by uploading more information. This video, I want to focus on prompting. Now, this is going to be a little bit in depth. Now, if you don't understand how prompting works, or you don't understand how prompting works within ChatIQ, go ahead and watch that entire module and then come back to this video, because I don't want to explain prompting in this video and then explain it again in that module. So, for example, there's a few reasons, and these are the problems that you can fix very easily using prompting. If, for example, the chatbot is hallucinating, i.e. it's inventing random answers, or it's just going off on a tangent, or it's creating random responses, that can be fixed with prompting very, very easily. The next thing that will happen a lot is if there's important information, especially if you're building a customer service chatbot. You can see here, for example, is there a free trial? I've got the email included, or if you want to include the email in your responses, a lot of this is very useful for customer service. That can be improved with prompting. If it's giving responses like this as an AI language model, you can include that in prompting. You can make sure it never mentions that. All of these sorts of things can be included within prompting. So if you're thinking that ChatIQ is the problem for your chatbot not giving responses, or it's constantly saying as an AI language model, blah, 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 and it's not responding in the way that you would like, maybe in the tonality or the language that it's using doesn't fit with your brand, that can be fixed easily within prompting. The number of people who ask me this question, and it gets to the point where I'm like, look, guys, prompting is huge, is insane what you can do with it. So with that in mind, let's say, for example, this is the chatbot that we're currently working on. We have concluded that the information that the chatbot has got is up to scratch. It's got all the information that it needs, all the knowledge that it needs to answer the questions. We're just trying to solve hallucinations and make sure it's got like the email, for example, in its responses. What we're going to do is find out what prompt that it's using. Now, if you've only got one chatbot, this will be very easy, but especially if you go into your prompts library, if you've got a lot of prompts, it can be quite difficult to know what exactly is going on. So if you come to settings, select the chatbot that we're using. So we're using the widget chatbot, and the widget chatbot is this one on our website. So for example, can ChatIQ summarize documents? This is the chatbot that we're currently working on at the moment. So you can test this in your workspace before adding it to your website. You can see here the prompt. It's currently using the helper prompt. Now, if you're just want to have just double check what prompt it's using, just literally here you can have a quick read through the prompt. You can see it's fairly small, but it's quite compact and detailed. There's a lot of information and these step-by-step rules here, which I'll go through as well. So if you've just built a chatbot and you're using the default prompt, most likely it's the customer service prompt, which will look very similar to this. Yours will be very slightly different. It won't tell people that you're working for ChatIQ, for example. This most likely is not enough for your business. It will create a fairly good general customer service chatbot, but it won't be up to scratch. It will hallucinate every now and again. It will do some weird things that are not going to work for your business. The tonality may not be correct. So with that in mind, we know that we need to work on the ChatIQ helper. And if you want to, by the way, save it, you can just click down here and save if you want to select a different prompt. So we come back to the prompts area. And we've got two choices here. We either create a brand new prompt, or we find the prompt that it's using and we edit it. Okay, so I'm not going to edit this one because it's working perfectly for me. But if we edit it, we can click this button here, and then we can switch around things and then click save, and it will obviously update it. Once we click save, it will update that live on the chatbot on the website. Everything will be instant. So you should be able to get instant responses and make sure that that change has been improved. So let's just dive into this prompt. This is probably going to be about a 10-15 minute video. Respond in this tone: conversational, Spartan, and less corporate jargon, 8th grade reading level. This is very important to include in your first opening statement for the prompt. The reason I do this is I want the chatbot to be relaxed and laid back. If you use ChatGPT or you use the basic prompt and you don't use a statement like this, then it's going to be quite robotic. It will sound like a robot that you're talking to. You'll be able to tell that it's AI. Now, the difference between these two is very important. Right? If I look at the website here, Can it summarize documents? No, ChatIQ currently cannot summarize documents. It's primarily a chatbot builder. This sounds fairly professional, but it doesn't sound really robotic. And there's no other really way I can think of describing this, but you can get a general sense for how the language is improved with your chatbot by working on the prompt and just explaining how you want it to respond. The other way that you can do this, if we come back here, is you can say respond in this tone, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, this is a default for everyone. Every single chatbot built with ChatIQ has this built in, but it's very important. If you add this again to your prompt, it's just going to consolidate that. I'll make sure that's 100% going to happen all the time. I forgot what I was saying now. But if you want to adjust it a little bit more, if you want to work on different examples, what you can do is you can say, like, here's an example of a question someone usually asks, and this is the way that I would recommend responding, for example. And then it can get an idea of the tonality if you give it an example. But also make sure to say never use this as a response, right? Never just respond with this, because obviously the prompt is kind of hard coded into your chatbot, and you don't want it to just be spitting out information that you don't want people to have an answer for every question, if that makes sense. The next thing I say is I give it some context about what the chatbot is. This is incredibly important. Your chatbot doesn't know about your business. Just by giving it the data, it doesn't contextually understand your business. And I think this is one of the biggest problems people have. When they upload data to the data feed and build a chatbot, they think the chatbot automatically understands their business, which it doesn't. It's using that information as context. So with that in mind, imagine it's a brand new employee in your business. You have to make sure that chatbot is trained completely. So I've explained to it here saying you're a ChatIQ helper. Helper's quite good. It's better than customer service. Good customer service, I kind of find if you tell it to be a customer service chatbot, it's a bit blunt. Helper, it tries to be more helpful. ChatIQ and more human as well, which is quite important. It allows users to build custom chatbots by uploading data to the data feed, blah, 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 blah. So now, right, what I've done here is I've guaranteed that in every single response, regardless of the data that it's using, it will always know about the business. I also say you're going to manage general inquiries about ChatIQ. These are more broad explanation on how the app works. I don't want it to start. The reason I'm doing this is I don't want it to go super granular. I don't want it to be, constantly going into huge amounts of detail. So if I'm on the website, for example, and I asked, can ChatIQ summarize documents, and I don't know how can I build a chatbot, for example, and it went into, 500 words in very detailed response, that is obviously a problem. I don't want that. So you can do that by giving it some context here. I've then said, in this phase, answer general questions about ChatIQ and assist users with specific inquiries about the app. Now, that's just sort of connect. You don't really need that. This is incredibly important. If you do one thing with your prompts, create rules. And if it's a very important rule, copy and paste that rule 2 or 3 times. I'll show you what I mean. So here I've said, if you don't know the answer to a question, and I would always have this in any prompt that you create, respond with, I am currently unsure, but I made a note to add this to my training data. Please email support if this is urgent. Now, this may not happen all the time, okay? So for example, a question like this, okay, so actually I need to change this. So every now and again, you realize you need to just add more information to your chatbot, right? So can I change the logo in the chatbot? It's actually said, yes, you can, which you can't. You'll have the option to customize the chatbot's appearance, blah, 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 blah. But if it's not responding or it doesn't know the answer to the question, what I actually wanted it to do there is, if you don't know the answer to the question, please email support, right? Tell them to email support. So I've added that as a rule. The best way to do this now, because it's not using that, is copy it. And I'll add this to the bottom of the list. And I'll add this as rule 7. And then rule 8. I'll do the same thing. And then I'm going to save this. So now, and it's possible I've got an error in my training data, okay? So the best way to do this is to actually use this in the workspace to see if it's lifting this information from the training data or if it's inventing this information. Okay, so because it's responded the same again, I think the problem is this is in the training data. So I'm going to need to update that and make sure it's no longer in the training data. The other thing that you can do, if I come back to the dashboard, here, and we find out that actually this is not included in the training data, but this is a persistent issue that's happening within the chatbot. What you can do is you can add this. So there's no point having these because it didn't help. What we can do is, if it's a persistent problem and it's not in the training data and it's a negative response, i.e. we cannot do this or the company does not have this option, that is typically much harder for the chatbot to understand. Okay, if it's not in the data, it doesn't know that it doesn't exist. So the best thing to do is to say here, add it as a rule, saying if asked, and then we'll take the question, can you change the logo in the widget? Respond with, and then we're going to take, I don't know, we'll just say currently, no, you cannot change the logo in the widget. But hang on, I'll pause this. Okay, so actually I realized I was editing the wrong prompt. So I'm editing the prompt for this one here. But can I change the logo in the chatbot widget? It's then said currently you cannot change the logo in the chatbot widget, right? And that has happened because I've added this here. If asked, can you change the logo in the widget? Respond with currently no, you cannot change the logo in the widget, but we're constantly adding new updates, right? So it's basically lifted that exactly word for word. If you want it to elaborate on that a bit more, you can tell it to do that. And then I said by following these, oh, actually, we've just skipped a load of them. Right, there is no mention to the user's question in the text. Do not invent an answer. So this is quite important. And again, like what I would do if it's not doing this is I'd come down to here, I'd say rule 8, and I would just paste it again. The reason we're doing this is sometimes, like I said, if it's something that it can't do, or if there's a lack of information, it's much harder for the chatbot to work its way through that. So you have to sometimes think outside the box and think, okay, what sort of things can people be asking me that's not currently included in the text? If I'm not answering that question, or you want it to not do something, write that in the prompt, like I've just done. The urgency thing is quite good. Okay, so ChatIQ is very good at prioritizing responses. And you can see here in the interface, I've done this fairly well. So general inquiry, make broad explanations. So in this phase, answer general questions. Hang on, let me find the bit. So here, phase 2, only ever start this phase if you've been asked or confirmed if the user wants to build a chatbot. Understand the position in the chatbot build. So it knows, it can contextually understand the position of the conversation. It can contextually understand what it is that user's trying to do, how frustrated they're getting. So we'll do another example here. If we come back to the ChatIQ helper and we do, let's add a new rule, and I'll pause this. Okay, so sorry about I had some network issues, but I've just been testing this prompt. So what we're trying to do here is understand the semantics of the user's message. So it's trying to see how angry the user gets. If the user's getting really angry, we want to manage that situation. That's very important for us. And the way we're doing that is we're saying, do semantic analysis of the user's message. If the user's sounding angry, stressed, or upset, or annoyed, manage the situation and calm the user. Offer to help them and see if they'd like to book a call. Now, what I tried is I added this as a rule. Once I added it as a rule, it wasn't really paying attention to it. It was just kind of ignoring it, really. So I added it as a rule twice, and that didn't really help. But if there's something that's really important that you want to include, hierarchy is very important. So make sure that you include that at the top of the list. So I've then put this up here and I've changed it slightly. So I said always, so it knows this is an important thing, read and understand the semantics of the user's message. So now, before it does anything else, the first thing it knows to do is read the message from that user and understand the semantics. Then an if statement. The user sounds angry, stressed, upset, or annoyed. Your job is to manage the situation and calm the user. Offer to help them and ask them to book a call. Now, I've said ask them to book a call because this is a very commanding thing. The problem is with offer. If you say offer to help them, typically the chatbot will decide whether it's worth it or not to offer that thing. So you want to say directly, be very binary. Now we're going to change this to ask. And see if that helps. I'll show you what the response looks like. So if we change this to always ask them to book a call with the sales team. Okay, so we'll save that. And I want to show you, before I change it to always, what the response was, and we'll see if this new one's made any difference. So I sent through here a horrible message from a user. I hate you. I've been ripped off. This is a scam. The chatbot said, I'm sorry to hear you're feeling upset. I understand you're frustrated. ChatIQ is a legitimate chatbot builder application. If you're experiencing any issues or any concerns, I'm here to help. Please let me know if there's any specific problem. So it's trying to understand more about them. I've then said the same question again. I'm trying to force it here to give me the link, basically. And what it's actually doing is it's offering to help. Okay, so I've told it to offer to help, so that's what it's doing. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I I can assure you ChatIQ is not a scam. We take the trust of our users very seriously. So you can see it's actually controlling the situation incredibly well. If you've got any specific questions or concerns, please let me know. I'll do my best to address them. I then changed what I said. So I said, you're a horrible company. And then what it did is it said, I'm sorry you're dissatisfied. We aim to provide a positive experience. I then said, if you'd like to speak with a sales team, sorry, it said, I can provide a link for you to schedule a call with them. I said, yes, I want to talk to them. And then it's come back and said, blah, 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 blah. Here's some information. If you'd like to speak to our sales team, here's the link. They'll be able to address any specific concerns you have about ChatIQ. Thank you for your patience. I hope we can resolve any issues you may have. So it's got that link. Now that link is obviously, I've just given it Calendly. It's not included in any of the training information, but that's included in the prompt. So now with the update that I've given it, I'm hoping it will be more proactive and give me that link sooner, but we'll see. Stuff particularly broad with, I hate this company, it's a scam. I'm sorry to hear that you're feeling this way, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's actually going to try and resolve the problem first. If there's any specific concerns, no, this company is awful. I've been ripped off. I'm trying to think of how horrible I can be. It's very difficult to know what a user would be saying. I'm imagining they'd say something like, fix this. I'm understand you're frustrated. I want to ensure that you find a resolutive solution. Fix this. Let's try that. And you can see how I'm doing this. And realistically, you probably want to be testing this in the workspace rather than having it integrated on your website when you're adding this information. Okay, so it's not always coming back with that. So realistically, it's going to take a while to go through and really identify how to get this prompt working, but you can see the amount of time to spend on prompting, how much that can help. Okay, so actually, I think the problem that I was having was I wasn't really responding to the way the chatbot's responding, like using it as an actual chatbot. I was just giving it statements. So I started with the same thing, and I've changed the prompt slightly. I'll show you what I've done. I'm sorry to hear that you're feeling this way, blah, 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 same stuff. And then it said, if you have any specific concerns or issues, let me know. I said, you've ripped me off. Then it's trying to, again, focus on that specific concern because I've not given it, if I'd said, I keep getting charged. Actually, we could have tried that. Then it'll probably tell me to cancel my subscription. But then I've said, this is my email, but you're a horrible company. I want to talk to someone and get this fixed. It's then immediately gone, here's the link. Tried the same thing again, where I've basically said, I want to talk to someone. And it's understood that we want to talk to the sales team. It said, I want to talk to someone directly. I can provide you with a link to book a call with the sales team. I've just said yes. And then it's gone ahead and given me the link. So obviously, in this case, it's letting the user lead. If you want the chatbot to lead the conversation, now we know that that was the issue, that it wasn't actually leading the conversation. So you can see how prompting can be incredibly powerful, and just like using semantic analysis to try and work out the state of that user and see if you can get them to do specific tasks. You can then get the chatbot to do if or else statements. Now, I appreciate this has been a very long video, but I'm hoping it's quite valuable. I'm hoping it's going to give you a lot of information on how to actually get better responses and use ChatIQ for what it is that you want. Now, coming out in the future, very soon, we're going to have a feature where you can actually add these links and it will create buttons, much like what we've got here. So hopefully that's helped. Like I say, if you want to see any more videos on prompting, go ahead and look at the whole prompting module, because they're all probably going to be about 15-20 minute long videos, but there's a lot of information with prompting, and I'll do a specific video which actually teaches you how to do good prompting as well. But that gives you an idea of how to actually test it. Now, like I say, I was testing on the website. I really probably just should have been testing in this area as well, to be fair. So you can see here, when I've used the workspace and I've done it, you're a horrible company, I want to get this fixed. Obviously, it's not got any, it's using, terms of service, it's using all these other bits of data. But what it's gone ahead and done is it said, look, I apologize, here's the problem. You can book a call with the team by visiting this link, calendly.com. Thank you for understanding. So in this case, it's actually just given me the link straight away. Now, each time it gives a response, it's not always going to be the same every single time. Don't forget, it is a chatbot that's using artificial intelligence. So it will decide in each specific instance whether it's going to give the link in the first response, or it's going to get them to respond and say, look, okay, are you sure you want the link? Blah, 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 right? And you could get very complicated with this. You could say, we're going to create semantic analysis prioritizing. So we're going to say, when you're angry, give them this link. When they're really happy, give them this other link. And I'll make that into a separate video.